Scale 75. Is it worth the hype?
Spiky bits.
What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Rob Baer with you again today, taking a look or checking out the new Scale 75 paints. So our friends at Elrik's Hobbies hooked us up with some of these paint sets to show you guys just how cool they are. And of course, I would be remiss in my duties to not show you these products over on their website. So let's do that. I will show you right here. Here is the smaller of the two Scale 75 complete sets or starter sets on Elrik's Hobbies website. Now you can see here that you do get a bunch of sets inside of here, and these are there's basically a few different ways to purchase these things. First off, there's the big set, which are your base colors. This is your 63 colors. These are, you know, the majority of colors you would use, but then for some of us, you know, that do a lot of the wargaming and the fantasy type stuff, there's the smaller set right here, which is 48 colors, and they're gonna have all those great fantasy type colors. Like if you want to pick demons or, you know, elves and all that stuff, this is a good set for you. But inside of each of these sets, you can see these mini sets, and the mini sets are little 8 bottle sets that you can also purchase separately. They go for around 30 bucks or so. These particular ones come with instructions on how to use the paints that are included. So there's a bunch of different ways you can dial it in, like, oh, I only mostly paint elf stuff. You can pick up the elf set, whatever. I only paint metals. You know, I really want some help with my metal game. Let me pick up, you know, the metal alchemy set right here, which is just your silvers worked on up from, you know, a black silver kind of type deal, which is one of the examples we're actually going to show you. So fast forward over to here. This is the 48 paint set. You can see it comes with a lot of stuff. Another cool feature of these is that it comes with an aluminum tray, which you can see right here. It's literally what makes these boxes so heavy is there's an aluminum metal tray in here to put your paints into it. And what's really cool about that is you can prop it up against a wall, against something else, and maybe make some sort of holder for it so you can go you know, vertical with it on your paint desk, which, you know, is pretty cool. Now there's that set right there. You can see it is significantly pricey. The same with the 63 paint set. So these go for around $4 a bottle, which if you're gonna buy the Vallejo paints, I feel like nowadays you might as well just start picking these up because of the exceptional quality of these paints, which I'm about to show you. So that just kind of gives you an idea of that. And I think they also have the smaller sets. Yep, that one I just showed you, the metal and alchemy set. These all come with about 8 different paints in them. All right, now let's go put this on the paint bench and see what we can do with it. Okay, here it is. So nice big box, barely fits in the camera, and this is the small one. Just to show you what comes in it specifically, do a little mini unboxing here before we get to actually using the paints themselves. You get a big, strong cardboard box, and then the set is inside of it with your aluminum tray. I'll try not to shred everything as I get it out so you can see. That is definitely very metal and very heavy, and you're not gonna have to worry about, you know, some buster MDF card or something like that all busting or anything like that. It's literally riveted together. Well, these aren't rivets, but clasped together, and there it is. So that's the larger set. Now for more general use, and probably what a lot of people out there are going to be able to get right off the bat to try out, is the smaller sets, the little smaller 8 sets here, and they show you some examples of the things you can paint, and also the cards or the paints that come in it. But maybe one of the coolest features of this is the little follow along how to paint card. So they show you as an example a couple of different items to actually paint, and in several different languages. I would say the majority of the languages of the stuff that, you know, that folks are going to buy, they show you exactly how to use it with exactly what colors. So it's a great little guide here, and then they talk about some, you know, some other stuff on the back, and that is pretty much it. You can see the colors are right in there. Now I think it is about time, what do you say, that we actually use some of these colors here. So, you know, you're like, hey, well, this stuff looks good, let's actually paint something. So here we go. We're just going to grab one of our parts. This happens to be a Adeptus Custodi Knight Upgrade 3D part that we're going to do today. So we're going to do these little Custodi swooshes in a gold palette real quick. Just a simple detail that we can do. So first off, we're going to grab our Viking gold. Now, this isn't the darkest. Be aware that there is a black gold, but this is good to put down. The black gold's good to put down if you have a black primer, and that way it helps work it up from a darker color. But since that is not the case here, we are just going to start right in with the Viking gold, which is a really great, nice, thick covering gold here, and we're just going to go across the tops very easily. Going to work it all in here and all the way down around the S. Next up, we are going to grab our, what is this, Dwarven gold here. Another very cool, very rich gold that kind of doesn't have anything I could compare it to right off the top of my head. So now we're just going to kind of work this in towards the tops of where the light would hit this swoosh. So some of these spots right here, you can already see it reflecting in the camera that it is very, very shiny. They use pearl essences with this, so it's going to have a little bit of pearl bits in there, and there you can see it's already starting to come to life. Next step will be continuing our progression up the golds. Elven gold here, a very brighter color that's just going to fill in towards the tops of where we just highlighted. So your very almost extreme edges, not quite extreme, I'd say split the difference with what you had just put down towards the tops, kind of like we're doing here, and maybe some of this on the raised edge right there of the swoosh, and back here at the very top and right here, and one step almost is left here. And the very last step is a very unique product to Scale 75. These are called ALCHEMYs, and ALCHEMYs change the property of whatever paints you're working with. This is the CITRINE, so it's, you can tell it's a little bit paler. But what we're going to do is add this. It's more of a translucent than anything. So we're going to add a little bit of this on our palette to our previous gold, our ELVEN gold, right? And what this is going to do is it's going to change the property of that paint, allowing it to be brighter. So we're just going to hit the fine extreme edges here and kind of take this paint up to an 11 from where it was previously. So it's going to be a lot brighter, more than just layering on more and more of the same kind of paint or adding like a steel in. This is going to give you lots of mixing options with you know, just its transparent properties here. So we're just hitting the very edges just to bring it up and not overpower the rest of the work we already did. And you can also go straight alchemy, which I'll show you here in a second, and that is going to be super bright. Let's see, where's a good spot to put that? I'll put it right here, and right there you can see, boom, getting all crazy, super bright and crazy. Now sometimes you have to go this high because when you turn your lamps off, like when you're at a convention hall or something, you're not going to have perfect light. So if you want to make your miniatures really stand out, sometimes taking that last step there, like we just did, is what will put it over the top. So Scale 75 paints are actually pretty easy to use in the airbrush, as long as you add a little airbrush flow improver, which Vallejo happens to actually make as well. I found that it works easiest for me if I fill about that much flow improver in there. If you have the smaller reservoir, if you have an Awada, you probably want to go a little bit shorter with your, like I would say, just to cover that area down there by the needle. But on these smaller reservoirs, you just want to fill up that hole where it interfaces in. And then we're just going to grab our first color here, which is going to be our, let's see, what is this? Dwarven gold. I'm still learning the colors myself. Now we've already done a base coat on what we're going to spray. So let's show you how much to put in here. About that much, give or take, and we're always gonna grab our buster brush and mix it up. Where's my buster brush? Oh, buster brush is missing. Well, that's not good. Here we go. Buster brush. All right, so we're gonna get in here, mix this all up. You want it the consistency of milk, not water. Water is bad. Milk is good. And that looks to be pretty good mix. Now I'm gonna dial in my spray and start laying down some base coats. Okay, so here's our piece that we're going to paint on. You can see I already tested it out on the thumb there, but we laid on the very first coat, that Viking gold first, brushed it all on, and now we're gonna airbrush it in. So just using a very low PSI, we're just gonna cut it in. Now, when you're using these paints, it's very important to make sure that you stir the pot so that you keep your mix nice and consistent as you're going. So you might want to do some sections, and this is just for the pearl essence metals. Just do a few sections, look at your pot. If it starts to separate, just mix it up again with your buster brush and just continue to go. Like, it looks like it's starting to separate there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this claw and the rest of it, and then give it a good mix. Now we've mixed up some elf gold here just to get about the top 3/4 of this claw now. Just going in and airbrushing that on nice and smooth, working it in from all the angles, but not spraying back towards all of the dark metals we've already done. And last on the metal workup is going to be a little of that alchemy. We just mixed a little into the pot and are hitting just the tips on the edge of the talons there. I already worked a little bit of it in because it's transparent, so it's going to be a little bit waterier than your previous mixes, but you just got to work at it, hit it with a little air, hit it with a little paint, go back and forth, make sure you're hitting all the right angles just on the end there, and you will be rewarded with a nice bright fade on the very tips of your claws there. Now we're going to go back and work up some umbers from the back and probably this mid-level Viking gold a bit, just to transition from dark to light from these dark metals right here. I spared you the boring stuff, but suffice to say, we went in, we cut this back with a little burnt umber, which they don't have in scale 75, so I just used plain Vallejo air, and then kind of mid-ranged it with that Viking gold that we originally started with for the brush on properties of it. But I think this turned out pretty good, if I might say so myself. So next up, we're going to show you how to do this fantastic metalworking here on the actual body of the Night Titan. So here he is, the Night body. Normally, I probably would have started this project with a black metal, but just to get a consistent, quick spray, I used a rattle can. I think of one of the Model Master colors, but you know, if you got time and you got the airbrush, just hose it down with your base metal, which would have been that. But now we're going to skip ahead to heavy metal, which is one of the great silvers in the line there, and we're going to use this color to just kind of hit the raised areas. Now remember, with the Knight, we're not going to hit everything because there's all sorts of armor plating and things in here, so I'm probably going to be stopping as I go after I paint this in order to line up plates and see what's actually exposed as to what's about to get covered up by armor plates. But for this tutorial, and just to show you how these paints work, we'll just hit up some of the hip joints right here and kind of work that up and show you the natural kind of progression of that. Now that we got all of those highlights complete, we're going to add a little bit of the white alchemy to this mix to brighten it up, and then just start hitting the more raised edges before we start doing our cutbacks. So I got it all mixed up here in the pot, not a whole lot of material in there because we're not going to use a whole lot of it, but suffice to say, we're just going to hit these raised edges on the outside and the tops of all of the highlights we just did. And when that's all done, we got some great contrast between the metals and that black metal we originally sprayed, which is pretty much the same color. I was pleasantly surprised. So overall, I hope you can see how awesome these Scale 75s are. They're really great, and they're not that much more expensive than the normal Vallejo paints, and they come in all sorts of exciting sets. We just showed you the metal and alchemy steel, how to use those, and we also showed you some of the gold as well, some of the brushwork, and you can see some of the colors on the back. But there's almost 20 different sets out there. They all go for about 30 bucks. There's some copper, which is great for all those new Death Guard players out there, I am sure. So make sure you head on over to elrikshobbies.com, pick up your Scale 75 paints. They really are a great paint to work with, both brush and airbrush as well.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.